Hello and welcome to the Bansters channel. I am PFC Calico and today I will talk about last week's Fallout 76 beta. To give you an idea about what my point of view is, Fallout 1 was one of 3 games I first played as a kid. After that I was hooked and have played Fallout ever since. I initially hated Fallout 4 for its broad sweeping changes from the classic formula of New Vegas and the older Fallouts. Eventually I liked the game for its own merits and have over 1600 hours of playtime on Steam. Enough reminiscing, on with the show. With Fallout 76, the first thing I noticed was the change of scenery and its drastic differences from previous installments of the series. I love the autumnal colour palette presented in the environment, from vistas of gold, green and red in the forested areas to the stark, hellish, fire-ridden scenery of the ash heap. The setting lends itself to the potential storyline where I have followed the Overseer around the map and become a fire breather, and the Scorched have been highlighted as serious components of the story. Part of the story points to numerous disappearances around the game world. This then nicely explains the lack of human NPCs around the world, and is a nice touch by Bethesda to ensure that the reason for no human NPCs is not a trivial or story-breaking one. This lack of human NPCs creates a sense of loneliness once you move further from the initial starting zones. This loneliness does get broken due to the proximity voice chat. Other than that, the feeling pervaded during my solo play. As I progressed through the game, I came across a pleasing variety of critters, enemies, resources and quests. I came across all sorts of mole rats, rat roaches, dogs, fireflies, beavers, ticks, and I've watched streamers engage with other creatures like crickets, and I think I've seen rabbits as well. The enemies are also varied to the same extent or more. I have so far engaged with Scorched, super mutants, ghouls, snallygasters, Grafton monsters, mole miners, liberators, and those are just some of the more common enemies I've seen. My only other gripes with the enemies are that the non-beast types, the AI is a little dumb in comparison to Fallout 4. This is noticeable particularly with the super mutants and Scorched, as they swarm you shooting all the way, and very rarely taking cover or doing anything to make them more challenging. You can't even take cover to mitigate this bum rushing yourself, in effect like you could in Fallout 4. My other gripe with NPCs lays directly with the traders. I came across a travelling trader who didn't do equivalent exchange, and this also relates to the traders that are in settlements like Flatwoods. What I mean by equivalent exchange, well, if I wanted to exchange an item, then I should be able to get an item from the trader of equivalent or less value. So currently, to buy something I had to sell something for caps he didn't even have. Couple this with the fact that the number of caps is not instanced to players individually means a player can clean out a trader, making them unusable to any other player for an unknown amount of time. On to something more pleasant. The variety and frequency of quests was good, and not to the extent a certain Minutemen gave us in Fallout 4. They are thematic to the area and provide a short distraction with some decent rewards. However, this frequency also means an overabundance of loot, which means in the early game, weapons, armour and crafting materials are a non-concern, trivialising the gaming experience, at least in the early game. An example of this would be the government requisition holotapes, and the fact I have around 8 of them still unused. The ones I did get gave me upgraded level appropriate gear that would otherwise have been hard to come by. I ended up one-shotting pretty much most enemies around the area because of this. This overabundance of supplies did mean I could toy around with the build mode, and this has changed little since Fallout 4. The UI is intuitive and easy to navigate, which offsets the biggest problem presented to prospective builders. That problem is, anything more involved than a basic wooden shack with some simple furniture requires plans to unlock. To get the required resources, however, is far easier, as any workbench will allow you to break down weapons, armour and junk into their constituent parts. I really love the scrapple function of the workbenches, and the variety of resources is no different from Fallout 4, but there is a myriad of ways to gain them. For example, to gather wood you can either scrap weapons and armour, harvest fallen tree trunks in the forest, wood piles near lived-in areas, and lumber mills that have wood on trailers. All the resources then feed into a clean crafting system, one where the damage and protection of weapons and armour scale with the level of the player. So if you love that hunting rifle that you had at level 1, you can craft another hunting rifle at level 5, 10, 15 or 20 and higher, ensuring that your favourite type of weapon continues to be viable into the mid-game and maybe even the end game. Another improvement is the ability to bundle resources of the same type into bulk versions, thereby reducing the amount of space taken up by them. This is especially important when the absolute storage limit is only £400 at the camp, currently inclusive of the £150 limit of your stash, plus whatever you decide to carry on your character itself and haul around the world. However, the stash can be accessed at your camp as well as most traders and some Red Rocket stations. After all the questing, killing, looting and crafting, you are bound to level up. This is different from previous iterations and tries to make the player consider their build every time they buy a perk card. When you level, you will start all special points at 1 and can increase them to a maximum of 15 each, but you will only attain a total of 49 points in the game. This means that unlike Fallout 4, where you can pick any perk you like if you have the special requirements, you now need to create your build on the fly with random cards. The card system would be fine, good even, if there was some way to see all the available cards in the game. This would allow for long-term planning, as there is no facility yet to change the allocation of special points. To improve this, I would keep the random cards from packs and show but not allow equipping cards you do not have unlocked. So to give my final thoughts after the first week of testing is that it has been immensely enjoyable for me. That's the key point, however. If you're looking for a pure single player experience with NPCs and whatnot like in Vegas or Fallout 4, then this game may not be for you right now. At least until modding and private servers come out later down the line. If, however, the idea of a new storyline to be played with and enjoyed with friends or by yourself amongst other players who you rarely meet sounds like a fun time to you, then this game might be a good one to put on your list to Santa. As always, like, subscribe, and click the notification icon for updates to the Bamsters channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll chat again real soon.